Welcome everyone. As Damien said, I'm John. I'm one of the founding partners of Fusion, and I currently run the Sydney office. Today I want to talk about personalisation. Why is it important in the digital age? Maybe uncover some interesting examples and stories, go through some facts on personalisation, and then at the end outline a bit of a framework that you guys can take into your businesses and apply either at a kind of high strategic level or at a very low and small tactical level. But first, I want to talk a bit of a story. So every day I go to work, I catch the ferry to work. It's a lovely way to get to work. I get off and I go to my favourite cafe, and I see my favourite barista. Let's call him Ron. Why? Well, that's his name. I've been going there for 3 years, and as you can imagine, the first time I went there, I would have walked in, he would have gone, can I help you? What do you want? And I would have placed my order and gone away, tasted the product and go, okay, yeah, that coffee's good, I might come back. Over time, he comes back and goes, hey, how are you? Skin flat white, right? And I go, yeah. Cool. And this continues and continues. And after repeated kind of interactions and ongoing, we get to a point where he's asking about my holidays, how my wife's going, what I'm doing on the weekends. He sees me coming from 100 metres away. He's already got the order ready for me. I get my coffee, so all of a sudden my interaction with him and the personalisation level is going through the roof. And basically, he's not doing this just for me, he's doing this for every other customer that's coming through the door. And that's why everyone goes to him. He does a great product, but he also delivers a great personalised experience. So I would call him a walking marketing automation platform. But it's not just Ron. We're also in a world now where digital platforms are providing personalised experiences. You look at Netflix, they get a better understanding of what I want to watch every time I use it, and it gets better and better. I don't have to go to the video store and sort through thousands of videos. They choose what I want. Apple Music, Spotify, they know my music taste. It works like magic. Their news feeds, the old days of a one-size-fits-all newspaper that applies to everybody doesn't exist anymore. Whether it's Medium or Feedly, I can have news feeds that I can curate, but also it learns and adapts to me as I use the product and get better at using it. It provides better news for me. Ordering apps. 9 times out of 10 when you want to order something, it's a Friday night and you want the same pizza that you ordered the week before. So, functionality embedded in digital experiences can create a personalised experience. It's a one-hit order. I just order that pizza again, it turns up. And in some cases, our entire lives. I think Facebook is a classic example of providing a personalised newsfeed of your life, your friends, your family, everything that you interact with. So you're delivering this, but also you're seeing your customers are expecting this. And even global brands who we'd normally associate with sameness, blandness, repeatability are trying to get into the personalisation space, make your own burgers. So if we think back to Ron the barista, if we look at the longer that we invest with a brand, the greater the expectation is that we're going to receive a personalised service. If over time that you invest with that brand, it doesn't start to understand who you are, you start to go, well, why they don't understand me? What is the problem here? So personalisation means the brand is demonstrating empathy and an understanding of who we are. It is kind of making us feel, special. So as our engagement and more importantly, it grows, more importantly, so does our loyalty. And so the cycle continues and that evolves and evolves, and that's why you end up going to Ron the barista or going to that favourite restaurant, is because that relationship grows to a point where you have a brand affinity. So we can no longer get away with a kind of one-size-fits-all approach to digital marketing. We also got to think that most digital experiences, particularly the bad ones, are the ones that make you feel like you're treated like a number. And as I said, if you go back to Ron, imagine if I turn up tomorrow and he goes, hi, what can I help you? I'd be like, what the hell? And I probably wouldn't go back, and I'd have a massive issue with that. So my personalisation has just gone through the roof. So if you're delivering that in your online experiences, that's what you're doing to your customers. So I suppose what we're saying is customers are expecting this without even knowing it. These digital platforms that we went through before are basically reinforcing this on a daily basis. So they want to engage with brands and they want to have affinity with personalisation, and personalisation is the key of that engagement process. Now, there's no shortage of data in the world anymore, and the Web 2.0 kind of phenomenon ensured that there's vast amount of user-generated data. However, these guys need to now provide ways of personalisation and curation so that I don't have to go through hundreds and hundreds of areas in TripAdvisor or Yelp or all these platforms. They need to curate and filter out the noise. Now, that's their biggest problem. So let's look at a great example. This is Stitch Fix. Has anyone heard of it? Right, the women here will like this. It's basically an online service that provides personal styling at affordable prices. So what happens is every month they send out what's called a fix. So you sign up, you go through a short form, fill out your kind of preferences, and they'll send out a fix. They'll send out 5 garments, and they'll charge you a $20 styling fee. Now, if you choose any one of those garments, that styling fee will be taken off the price, so you don't have to do it. If you choose all 5, you get a $20 discount. Additionally, if you don't want them, you just send them back for free. So what happens is then they take note of the things that you choose, the process gets better, and all of a sudden you've got this styling curator that sends you clothes on a monthly basis, and it's tailored exactly towards you. So there's some examples of personalisation, but let's dive a little bit deeper into kind of what do we actually mean by personalisation. Here's a quote. Personalisation is the customisation of the user experience based on data to provide a more meaningful and streamlined experience to the user, increasing levels of satisfaction and potential for re-engagement and loyalty. Pretty complicated. Great quote. Do you know who said it? I did, thank you. Or simply put, the user experience is equaling the user needs. What the person is doing, or what the person is wanting to do, is automatically coming to them. It's kind of like they already know what I want. If we kind of break that apart a little bit and look at, if this is a mathematical function, personalisation is really around the key things. It's behavioural. It's kind of like what behaviour am I exhibiting that will then determine a kind of outcome. It's contextual. It's like where I am and the location. It might be the time of day that I'm using it. It's technical. Am I interacting with your brand on TV or an Apple TV? Or am I in my car or am I on the phone? Is it historical as well? So that's like all your history of what you've done provides a detail of, well, this is how I want to be interacted with. If you think back to Ron, he knows my order. He knows I come in at probably about 8 o'clock. There's a history there. And then something that's called collaborative filtering, which is going, well, okay, we've got all this data on you. We've also got this data on all these other people. And we know that you and you are pretty similar, and you seem to be doing the same thing. So based on that, you might like what you have and vice versa. So that's using the data in a collective way to then come back with recommendations and like for like. And then obviously all these things have to go across all these digital platforms. We've got web, we've got email, display ads, search, paid SEO, mobile, apps, and even in-store and call centres, offline. However, to be successful, our view is we need 3 kind of key things. Firstly, it needs to be scalable. There's no point doing a personalisation if it's only for 4 people. It needs to be repeatable. You need to be able to do it on a larger scale. It needs to be relevant. It needs to make sense to the user. And it needs to be timely. No point doing it too late. Some quick examples. I bought this lamp online 2 weeks ago. Not really. But since surfing the net, I'm getting retargeted for it. Now, really, the online store should know I've already made that purchase. And they should be cutting their media spend on me and everyone else who's bought that product by not targeting. It does 2 things. They're wasting money, and B, they're saying, well, I don't even know who you are. So as a customer, I'm going, that's not really very personal. These were actual 2 emails I got sent last week. It was my birthday. This was from Webjet. Okay, 50% off, happy birthday. Awesome, thank you. Both of them, great, timely, 100% bang on. This one, I get something for it. Rewardle, happy birthday. Great, thanks for that. That was awesome. You just filled my inbox up, yay. So, timeliness, yes. Usefulness, maybe not. So, personalisation should help your customers do what they want to do by doing some of the heavy lifting for them. But don't get in their way. The idea is to engage the user through empathy, not create obstacles for them. Speaking of obstacles, who gets this? Who gets annoyed when this happens? Well, this is a really good example. So the airlines have introduced personalised viewing of content, which is fantastic. You no longer all have to watch the same movie on the plane. However, what they've failed to do is change their look at the digital in the ecosystem that it lives within. So they've obviously had old procedures where they say, well, the captain will come on at 20 minutes into the flight because no one has an entertainment system and everyone's bored, so he will talk about the weather and they're flying over Broken Hill and they're doing X, Y, and Z. But they've introduced this. It's like, why are they interrupting me now? Like, you've just given me this, now you're taking it away? So you need to look at the procedures and the kind of ecosystem that your digital solutions are sitting within and look at the whole thing holistically. But most of all, it needs to be useful and add some value. Anyone heard of Bellroy? Yeah, great fan of Bellroy, make beautiful wallets. I bought an iPhone cover. It's a leather iPhone cover, holds one little credit card on the back. I got sent this to me 4 weeks after I bought it. And I was like, hey, how's that phone cover going? You've had it for a while. You probably now need to look at, maybe washing it or caring for it. Really, really useful, but it also re-engaged me with their brand. It's like, oh, that's right. Well, that's, just a reminder that who they are. And I suppose the last one is don't be creepy. Just because we can access all this data about people, we just, we don't want to be inappropriate or polite. Customers are happy to provide their data, but in exchange for getting, relevance and simplicity in their lives. If we take the kind of analogy of Ron, it's kind of like, yeah, now you're becoming too friendly. Back in the old days, the marketing job was really just create awareness. After that, the sales guy took the user from knowing about the product a little bit, right through that sales journey, right to the end. Nowadays, the users, by the time they're looking at your platforms and things, they already know exactly about what's going on. So essentially, marketers have to nurture your job as marketers now is to take them, pretty much do the sales job guy, take them right through from awareness right through to the kind of final completion. And to do that, we need, obviously, timely information, creates clear understanding of the data, gives us a clear understanding of what we can do with that user. And the stats show that people are prepared to pay higher price for a better user experience. So I'll go to Ron, even though his coffee's a little bit more, for the guy down the road where I have to wait 40 minutes to get a coffee. And I think this is a great statement. The experience is the currency of your brand. And if you look at the kind of disruptors in the space, Airbnb, Uber, you name it, that's what they live by. So I'm going to play a quick video just to break this up. We'll watch it, and then I'm going to ask questions after.
For an airline company, taking personal care of every passenger is the most important value. But this doesn't always happen with onboard magazines.
Once our clients read it, they easily forget about it. We know we're offering a too generic content. It's not personal enough.
So during the anniversary of its Milan-Sao Paulo route, TAM Airlines created a special magazine, the Onboard magazine. First, we introduced a Facebook Connect during the online purchase process. This way, we got to know our passengers better, their likes, their photos, their friends, the places they love. This information was then used to create custom content for each passenger's onboard magazine. Their name turned into a colour, or what happened on the day they were born, an article about those they love, or about their passions. Between the Facebook Connect and the takeoff, we printed all the magazines and placed them at the right seats. Every copy is unique, with different articles for each passenger to show our clients how much we know about them and what makes them happy. So for the first time on a flight, every passenger received their own unique magazine issue all about themselves, something completely new and different.
E poi c'è una serie di mostre, di esposizioni, di cose che interessano me e non so come l'abbiano scoperto.
Aqui tem o meu time do futebol, tem o Napoli.
Ma ci ho trovato foto mie di Facebook, di Twitter degli amici. Cioè una cosa che serviva a me della casa che stavo cercando e qua l'ha scritto.
The result was that 100% of passengers decided to take away their onboard magazine, and the average time of reading increased by 1,200%. But most of all, we showed our passengers how much we care.
Adesso posso levare pra mim, né?
The Onboard Magazine. You front and center.
Now that's a great example to show how using simple data from social media can create a great online user experience. But it's got one major failing. Does anyone know what it is? It's not scalable. They did it once, right? So they printed all these things, they did all this effort and created a fantastic PR video, which won a Cannes Award, by the way. But that's where it ends. So, you know, if I'm a customer going on that plane, I'm probably not going to get a particular customised magazine. But it also highlighted that you know, who reads the magazines now in the onboard flights? No one, because they either got their iPad out or they're watching the entertainment system. So how do we manage these multiple relationships? We're going to do this on a broader scale. How do we do it? Obviously, we need to automate it, and that's where marketing automation comes in. So how do we get started? The idea is to kind of start simple, build, test, grow, learn, etc. Too many businesses do either nothing, because they think it's going to be too hard to do, or they develop an overcomplicated and overambitious framework that they can and never start. They can never deliver on. So the key thing is start small. So we've developed a framework for delivering marketing and automation and personalisation. That's not it. We'll just quickly go through it. So where we need to start, and this can start at a high level, or it can start at a really small, we've just got like a really small little problem. So first thing is look at business objectives. You know, how's this going to feed the overall business objectives? Why are we doing this? What does success look like? You know, this could be high level and objective, or it could be very kind of specific and tactical. It could be down to, you know, how can we reward our highest value customers? That could be the business objective. Then on the flip side, we then need to understand our audience and the different personas. So do we have new category entrants? You know, people who have never been to our brand before. How do we treat them? You know, what about our existing and loyal customers? Do we have a segmentation of male versus female? We need to understand the kind of consumer journey, all the different touch points that they have with all our different channels. And this could be like at a really detailed level, which was done for Depend, or it could be as simply just kind of going through the key areas of our find, use, love, fix model. And if we look at this, some simple examples. Find, retargeting is really, really effective if used smartly. You know, you think of the first time users using clever, creative, or smart use of data can kind of start to engage with the customer on a brand. This, some of you might have seen this before. I've used this in a presentation before. My wife was sent this after we had lunch at a restaurant, and I rate this as probably the best email that we've ever received. You know, how many times you've been to lunch and you wanted to know the bottle of wine that you had at lunch. So we went to lunch, we got this email the next day that said, hey, you had this bottle of wine. By the way, you can buy it here if you want to. Like, fantastic. And then on the kind of love and fix is how do we reward advocacy? So how do we reward the people that really love us as a brand? And what do we do when something goes wrong? You know, look at those areas. Data. Data is crucial for personalising content. But even if you haven't collected much data, there's plenty of data available, particularly on social media. You saw the TAM example. People put their entire life history on board, and if you can engage through social media, you're going to get that data and get a better understanding of who they are. There's some examples of different data that's available. There's plenty of public data available. It's kind of what data do we own? What's our first-party data? Is there options for second or third-party data? What else do we know about our customers? What back-end systems? What does the call centre know about our customers? Good examples, Fisher & Paykel, using third-party data. They believed that the most likeliest time that a family buys a new fridge is when they're moving house. Right? So they went to RP Data, the people who handle realestate.com, and basically washed that with their marketing ad management platform and targeted anyone who'd sold their house recently with an ad to buy a fridge. Sales went through the roof. So once we understand the data, we also need to know the technology that we have. Now that's the technology we're currently using. What data, what can we learn out of that platforms? How do they behave? Do they talk to each other? Because that's the biggest problem with most technology is we have all these separate systems and they all have data, but we've got individual information about a customer, but we have no idea that they're linked together. Do you guys have a marketing automation platform? If not, why not? Can you afford not to have one? Case study we did, I was just talking about it earlier. For Kimberly-Clark, we used Marketo Episerver, which is a CMS platform for the web, and Magento, which is e-com, and we linked those three together. Now, individually, those platforms have a lot of individual data, which is fantastic, but it's a case of 1 + 1 + 1 equals 50 when you put them together, because all of a sudden, someone's landing on the website, we can ask Marketo, do we know this person? We go, yeah, they do, they really like this because they open these emails and they engage on this behaviour. And also that we know that they buy products over in Magento. So therefore, we can customise the user experience based on all that information. And then, we're almost there. Then we really got to take that data and then look at the users and then segment them down. So we need to kind of really, at a kind of quantitative level, segment who our users are. So when we say, a high-value customer, what does that mean? Does that mean a person that buys 5 times a week? Does it 4 times a week? Does it mean there needs to be some numbers that are associated to that. They spend $500 a year. Whatever they are, the businesses can work it out, but you need to quantify that because that then determines moving people from one segment to another. And then from there, we can then define mechanics and working out flows of how people go through your ecosystems. And you go, okay, when a new person who's never been to our site before lands, we'll follow them, we'll get their email address, eventually we'll send them an email in 2 weeks' time, and we work out that flow and mechanic, and then define content and creative, and all the kind of communications that goes around that mechanic to be able to deliver a great personalised experience. And one way of doing that is Andy Lark from Xero likes to talk about the moments of doubt, desire and dissatisfaction. So look at the consumer journey, look where there's moments of doubt, look where there's moments of desire, look where there's moments of dissatisfaction, and either fix them or ramp them up. I mean, a great example is Uber. You take the traditional taxi, moments of doubt. Is the taxi going to turn up? The taxi driver, is the customer going to be there when I arrive? Uber fixed that. Desire, they put water in the car for you. They put music on, their choice of music. Dissatisfaction, what's the worst part of a taxi? Is getting out at the end, paying, the guy's fiddling around in the glove box to get a receipt, hasn't turned the cab charge console on, so you have to wait while it boots up. That whole process of getting out of the car after the ride is finished is dissatisfaction. So Uber's addressed those 3 things right across the board. That's why they're doing so well. And then lastly, we've got to look at the channels that we're actually communicating on and determine kind of like the reporting framework that it sits. So, we need to work out the objectives for each stage in the consumer journey. We need to define the KPIs for those objectives. So it might be, so the Kimberly-Clark thing, we want to make sure that we want to get 50,000 new category entrants signing up for samples in year 1. That's a KPI. Well, the objective is samples, the KPI is 50,000. We need to then do A/B testing. We then need to optimise. So then you go, okay, this is working, this is not. And a lot of this is following hunches. It's not rocket. It's not a science. It's just looking at the process and going, that seems to be working. We'll do an A/B test here. Wow, that works. From now on, we're going to do that. And it's play and learn. So that's it. Hopefully you found this kind of framework useful. We'll provide a detailed slide for you if you ever want to use it. And as I said before, this can be done at a high level and strategic level and a massive in-depth level, or it can be quite tactical and we just pick one thing and you go through the process and you end up with an output where you're creating a great user experience. So to finish, I ask you guys, how's your brand going to deliver the Ron, the barista user experience? And I suppose it really starts with one small personalised cup of goodness. So thank you very much.